Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Jerry's Restaurant, South Mayo Trail, Pikeville, for the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. 112 and 58, 4 consecutive 20-win seasons in his 6th season as head coach of the University of Pikeville Bears. He's the reigning NAIA National Coach of the Year. Ladies and gentlemen, our coach of the University of Pikeville Bears, Kelly Wells.
Andrew, thank you. It's great to be on air. It's great to have some good things to talk about. Obviously, last week was one we're trying to move forward from, but certainly excited about the future and the weeks ahead of us for sure.
Last week's show, we skirted through pretty quickly on certain things. We'll back up and talk about a couple of things that need to be addressed because we are moving forward. Before we get too far in the show, Thanksgiving holiday, you and yours have a great holiday.
We really did. It was wonderful, and it seems like as your kids get a little bit older, they go so much quicker. And we had some travel in there, and we spent a lot of time with our players and our team, and we were very blessed to be able to go to some area churches and had some team meals, and took our guys to church services a couple times. So it was overall just a tremendous experience for us.
You talk about the churches and having meals with your team. It's become a community affair, U-Pike basketball, because a lot of the churches, a lot of the members of the community have adopted this team. Even before Kansas City last year, over the last several years, it's become a community involvement with the program where it may have been more removed in recent years. What do you attribute that to?
Well, it's just, I can't look at their parents in the recruiting process and say they're going to be part of our family and then not treat them as such. So on Sundays we go to church, and on Sundays our guys go to church. That's just kind of been the way it's been, and our guys enjoy that. They embrace it. It gives them an opportunity to get to know maybe some people that they don't see on campus or don't see at the restaurant here or there, and just builds good community involvement, good interaction, and it's always good for our guys not just to be student athletes but also to be community members. And I think that's one of the reasons a lot of our guys stick around and have jobs in the area and continue to give back in this area.
And the guys get out in the community, but also the community becomes a part of that team. That's where all in comes in. The community joins the team joins the community, and it truly is an all-in effort.
Well, that's really the only way it's truly meaningful, to be honest with you. And you can win games and not do it the right way, and then it becomes something you're not very proud of. But we want to win, and we want to be proud of it when we're done with it. And if you can't share it with the ones you love and the people you're around, there's really no use in really trying to do that. So we're blessed to be able to do all those things.
Something we haven't talked about on this program, I think we may have talked about it on occasion, though. Last year in Kansas City during the national tournament, Sunday morning came. Your team, you were in Kansas City, and there was a lot of notice to what went on Sunday morning in Kansas City. But I'm not sure the community here has recognized what went on there, and wanted to address that because it's an important part of this program. That Sunday morning in Kansas City, let's talk about what then Pikeville College, your Bears team, did.
Well, we had a unique experience, and I've had an opportunity to go to several places and speak on that event and how it went down, and just very, very blessed to get invited to a local area church there, a predominantly black church. And actually one of our players on our team, his minister just happened to be in town, and he's from New Jersey, and it's Kyan Hines, and his minister happened to be speaking in town at a nearby church. So we actually had our practice time set for 11:30 on Sunday, and we canceled that practice. And NAIA was nice enough to let us move that to a later time. Right. And be able to attend that church service. Actually, we took Governor Patton with us, and he got up and spoke at the congregation, and it just was a great event. And those are the special touches that make things very special and memories that we'll have for a lifetime.
You talk about family being an important part of the recruiting process when you talk to players' parents, but faith is also an important part of the Bears program.
It is, and I've been very blessed to have a mother who drug me to church every Sunday morning, every Sunday night, and every Wednesday night, and whether I wanted to be there or not at certain times, influenced that into my life, and hopefully I'll sustain that and carry it on to my kids as well as our players. And it is very important. I think that's the stability of our life, so we've got to make sure to share that with others.
It's the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless, coming to you from Jerry's Restaurant, South Mayo Trail, where we talk all things U-Pike basketball, recruiting, family, faith, friends, the community, and everybody's all in. Coach, let's talk a little basketball. Normally you've got a quick turnaround in basketball coming off a loss. You're able to respond to that loss and see how your team does respond. You've had a long layoff since a loss to Shawnee State, 9 or 10 days before you take on Cumberland's. Besides the holiday, how does that affect your team this early?
Probably mentally, it probably has some effect. Really, truthfully, for the kids, they probably forgot about it the night it was over with. But for the coaches and everybody else, it's just been a hard thing to kind of just say, let's set that aside, let's enjoy Thanksgiving, then let's turn it back on. And so probably for my wife and family, probably hasn't been the greatest time in the world for them. But we've worked through that. We've had some great practices leading up to our next game Thursday at Cumberland's, and I think the guys have responded well. I think they're very disappointed. They understand the opportunity that we missed there, and if they just missed that one opportunity, from here on, we'll be in good shape. But we've got to learn from that, and we can't continue to start slowly. And Coach Cal put in the paper today even that he wanted his teams to have ferocious starts, and we kind of stole a little bit of his thunder and actually put that in our scouting report for Thursday and Saturday.
And wisely so. Whether it's a 99-54 win or coming off a loss, 6-2 at this point in the season, we're still not into December. Let's have your thoughts on this team's progress so far.
Well, it's a work in progress. Obviously, we'd love to be 8-0. We've had a tremendous win at home versus Mountain State. We dropped one to Georgetown, who might be number one in the country as polls come back around if we take care of business. And we dropped one to Shawnee State that we probably should not have dropped. But it's a learning curve. It's a learning process, and you don't understand. You really don't build chemistry. You don't build unity unless you go through some fires. And we certainly this week have had some fires created in practice, self-inflicted, to try to make us bond together. Losing sometimes bonds together, and we understand we can't win every basketball game. We'd love to,
sure.
But that's just not reality as tough a schedules we play. But I think we've built some character along the way, and some adversity really makes you come closer as a unit. I think our chemistry right now is as high as it's been in a while.
You've got newcomers coming to a program. Of course, you've got to go through those battles. We've talked about that. How do you build chemistry? Well, you go through battles together. Last year's team peaked at the right time. The chemistry came together because you had been through some battles. You've been through some battles now. You've fought adversity, and as you head back into the conference schedule this week, how is your team prepared? Have they bonded any further coming off a 9 or 10 day break?
I think so. I think just the little things of not being in school and being able to hang out together in a relaxed environment, being able to go to meals together wherever we're at, and spending that quality time versus just being basketball time has really benefited our guys. And we've had to dismiss a couple guys, but in that is also drawn the guys that are with us together. We actually voted for team captains here just recently, and they did a very mature job in nominating Trevor Setti, Chris McHenry, who will be on a little bit, and Kyan Hines, a senior leader for us. So we did a very good job in choosing that, and those captains were so excited till they realized the amount of responsibility that I have put on our captains. But nonetheless, they've done a great job with that, and I think that's built some team chemistry and some unity.
It's the Kelly Wells Show presented by Appalachian Wireless. We come to you from Jerry's Restaurant every Tuesday evening at this time when it's not a game day. And we've got a couple of Tuesday evening games coming up that we'll have changes in the schedule. We'll let you know about those. But we do have guests coming up a little bit later. We'll talk with Chris McHenry and Josh Whitaker. You call that the Point Guard Express.
Yeah.
And we said we need to calibrate the cameras because those guys, they're so quick, it may just be a blur.
Yeah, we'll try to get them to slow down a little bit and speak clear. And one of the professors is in town here today to watch one of his proteges on camera, so I'm anxious to see how that turns out.
Very, very good. We'll talk with a couple of the Bears players as we spotlight some of the U-Pike players during the course of the season. Coach, coming off Shawnee State, now you head to Cumberland's. We want to get a scouting report on Cumberland's, always a tremendous opponent in the Mid-South Conference. And then, of course, Lindsey Wilson coming up this Saturday, Mountain State next Tuesday. We'll take a look at those three games tonight as this show goes on. It's the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back in. The Kelly Wells Show presented by Appalachian Wireless from Jerry's Restaurant, where we talk all things U-Pike basketball. We'll be rejoined by the coach momentarily, but we've got a couple of guests tonight. He calls them the Point Guard Express. We'll talk with senior Chris McHenry, and then Josh Whitaker will join us later. But Chris, welcome to the Kelly Wells Show.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
You arrived on the University of Pikeville campus this summer, I would imagine. You come to us from Miami University. Let's talk about Chris McHenry. Let's talk about your basketball background. Where did you play high school ball and then your college career?
In high school, I was in Milwaukee, and right out of high school, I signed a scholarship to Howard University in D.C. Then I felt I wanted to play on like a bigger stage, a bigger basketball stage, so I decided to go junior college. After junior college, got re-recruited, and ended up at Miami.
And you leave Miami and you come to the University of Pikeville. You finally arrived on that
Yeah.
bigger stage.
Yeah.
You joined the national champion, University of Pikeville Bears. Chris McHenry, let's talk about your academic career. What are your career goals? What's your academic major? What do you want to do when you finish basketball?
I'm a major in sociology, and after basketball, I still want to help the community. So I chose sociology because it's a broad area, and I can be able to work around it. And I'm not really sure what I want to do yet.
There you go. Like to keep playing basketball as long as you can?
Definitely.
No doubt about it. Coach Kelly Wells, he's different than a lot of basketball coaches that I've encountered over the years. Just a tremendously different personality, but he's a winning coach.
Yes,
he wins everywhere he's been, but he doesn't have that typical basketball coach mentality. What drew you to the University of Pikeville and his coaching style?
Just while I was getting recruited, I just felt the love from the assistant coach, Brett Rector, and when I did meet Coach Wells and I did talk to him, I felt like he wanted me for me, and he was a nice guy, Then with the basketball background he had, it just made Pikeville that much more attractive to me.
And Brett Rector, of course, involved in the recruiting process. When did that process start for you to land at the University of Pikeville?
It was a little after after my basketball season was over. I signed my release from Miami of Ohio, and Pikeville was one of the first schools that even contacted me.
How did that first contact take place?
I'm not sure. I just remember because there's a lot of schools calling. I just remember the name Brett Rector of Pikeville, so I kept them around, and I just
What did you know about Pikeville at that time?
Only thing I knew that they had a lot of good point guards to come out the last couple of years. All-Americans, and they have a number of guys playing overseas.
Sure.
So it made it sound really attractive, and it was more of my style of play. Like at Miami of Ohio, it was more of slow pace.
Right.
That's not really where my strong areas of the game is, and then I also remember they scored the ball averaged 90-something points last year.
Right.
I would just.
And you're all about that,
yeah.
getting up and down the floor.
Yeah.
Getting up and down the floor. Shown a lot of quickness, and of course have been a great addition to the University of Pikeville program, averaging 11 points a game, 2.5 assists, 2.5 steals up to now. But I think one of the key stats that Coach Wells is impressed with out of both you and Josh Whitaker, who will join us just a little bit later, better than 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. How much do you guys talk about that as point guards, because you're responsible mostly for the dishes? Do you guys talk about that assist to turnover ratio much at all?
Nah, not much anymore, just because we know that's our role. We know we probably got to protect the ball, so that's just my mindset in the game, just protecting the ball and hand it out.
You guys have come off 2 consecutive losses. Tremendously emotional game against Mountain State. Of course, you weren't involved in that national championship game, but the atmosphere at the Expo Center that night, it was tremendous, and I think anyone involved had to be emotionally charged in that game. How much of a mental letdown was it going from that Mountain State game to Georgetown, a very, very good team in their own right? Did you guys suffer a letdown coming off that, or maybe just a little flat?
It hurted to lose to those guys, but I think maybe we got comfortable, We didn't really think about the league, that we're 5-0, we're the number 1 team in the nation. Maybe we got complacent, but the losses, they'll help us, and we'll learn from them.
Coach said that you guys felt a little too good about yourselves.
We did. I think we did too.
No doubt about it. It's a humble attitude. How's practice been coming off those 2 losses?
A lot different.
A lot different?
Yeah, we've been really getting after it. Tempo's been up, been more competitive, and it feels good coming into the games.
Ask you a question that I asked Coach Wells as well. a long layoff, nearly 10 days between games from that Shawnee State game. And he said the players probably forgot about the loss that night. How much does that loss stick in your mind, ready to get back on the court?
Yeah, I think about it every day, you know, because we still haven't played a game yet. So that's my last memory of a real basketball game, and I've just been practicing with that on my mind. You know, that's been pushing me. That's been my motivation.
Chris McHenry, he's a senior point guard with the University of Pikeville Bears. You're tuned to the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. He's averaging 11 points per game. He'll be back on the court Thursday night at the University of Cumberland, and we'll have coverage on Z-Rock beginning at 7:45. Chris McHenry, best of luck the rest of the way, and we look forward to another Bears win on Thursday.
I appreciate it, Will.
That's Chris McHenry. He's the senior point guard with the Pike Bears. We'll return with another point guard of your Bears. It's the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. Welcome back in the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. We come to you from Jerry's Restaurant every Tuesday evening on non-game days, where we talk all things U-Pike basketball. Thanks so much to our guest just moments ago, senior point guard Chris McHenry, a new addition to the Bears program. Coach Kelly Wells will rejoin us momentarily. Right now we continue the Point Guard Express. Joined now by sophomore point guard Josh Whitaker. And Josh, welcome to the Kelly Wells Show.
It's good to be here.
Josh Whitaker, of course, we talk about the most important things first on this show, and student comes first. Let's talk about your academics. What's your major? What do you want to do when you finish with basketball?
Right now I'm a mathematics major, and I want to get that degree, and then after 4 years here, I'm going to go to like a post-secondary school like UK or somewhere and try to get an engineering degree and pursue a career there.
Smart guy.
Well, I mean, I guess you could say that.
If I'd had to guess, you being a coach's kid, and I'm assuming a gym rat, I would have assumed you'd want to go into coaching. But a mathematics major and then wanting to go into engineering, those are lofty goals.
Yeah, well, I think my brother's going to try to do the coaching route, and I've been around my dad way too long, and he's had a lot of headaches, so I don't think that route's for me.
You've seen the coaches stress firsthand.
Yeah. I mean, you got parents coming at you, and then players. It's just too much of a headache. I mean, I love playing the game, but coaching is a different story.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Of course, those are your academic goals. Let's talk about your basketball background. Of course, you're a sophomore at the University of Pikeville. A lot of folks out there, they've grown accustomed to you, both you and your brother, as you were a member of the team last year. But let's talk about your background. Go back to high school for those that don't know your basketball background. Tell us about Josh Whitaker.
Well, in high school, my freshman year, I started out at Bell County High School. That's where I played under my dad. And then after a year there, I transferred to Hazard High School and played 3 years there. Went to the state tournament twice and went to All-A state 3 times in a row. So I've had a lot of success at the high school level.
No doubt about it. And 14th Region Player of the Year your senior year. You land at what was then Pikeville College. What made you choose Pikeville College over what I believe I read? There were some other offers out there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of schools talked to me here and there, but I just had a connection with Coach Wells. He had always been good to my family, and my brother played there, and I just felt like it was a good fit. I fit right in with all the players, Justin. I mean, it was just a good fit for me.
Sure. Of course, Justin Hicks, who's recently last year left the program as a senior, but also a Hazard guy. So it's an Eastern Kentucky feel, this U-Pike program, isn't it? Even though we've got guys like McHenry, who's out of Milwaukee.
Well, last year even more so. It was more of an Eastern Kentucky feel because you had a lot more players that I was familiar with. But this year we got Nate and Hobo, and it's still got that Eastern Kentucky feel along with a lot of other players from different areas with different backgrounds.
No doubt about it. Last year you were a part of the national championship team, that team that we stood in Booth Auditorium before the tournament, not knowing if we would even get in the tournament. And then you make the trip to Kansas City. What were the expectations of the players going to Kansas City?
Well, most of us were just happy to get there. I know Justin and my brother, they'd always talked about trying to get there, just trying to get there. They've been so close so many times before. And, of course, Vance, he always thought we was going to win everything.
Sure.
He came in thinking we was going to win it. And personally, I thought we was going to go down there and maybe win a game or two. But as a Cinderella story, we just kept winning, and ended up winning the whole thing. It's just a dream when you look back on it. It was unbelievable.
Last year, your team shared a lot of battles, shared a lot of adversities. Of course, you personally with some adversities through that. How did that help build that team, the chemistry, the bonding, the family that it became when it became tournament time?
Well, I mean, my mom passed away about January, and it just was good to come back to the team. I was away, me and my brother were away for a few days. It was good to come back and know you had brothers that cared about you and just was there for you to talk to. And I think that helped us just grow as a team because everybody was there for one another and we were truly all in.
All in, and a lot of times it's just a catchphrase. You hear teams that have different catchphrases, but it seems like this team last year, and we're in the early stages of this year, it seems like it truly is real. There's a lot of talk about family, and you talk about when you and your brother were away last year and you came back and truly felt like brothers. Family, how real is that to this program?
I mean, it's not just a motto, it's an everyday part of life for us. We do things together, we go to church together like Coach just mentioned earlier, and we do things in the community together, and like we hang out with each other. It's, every single day, every practice, it's not just practice, it's a time for us to grow as a family.
Josh Whitaker is a sophomore. You've gotten significantly more minutes this year than you did last. I would say you're a lot like Chris, greedy, wanting more minutes.
Yeah.
2.5 assists per game you're averaging, but you're one of the nation's leaders in an important category, I know, to Coach Wells, and that's in the assist-to-turnover ratio, nearly 3-to-1, and among the nation's leaders. How much pride do you take in that?
I take a lot of pride because I feel like my goal is to distribute the ball and not turn it over, and I feel like when I go in there I do that, and then I can see my minutes increase and see Coach gain more trust in me.
You guys coming off 2 losses back-to-back against Georgetown and Shawnee State. Cumberland's coming up on Thursday. As you head to that game, what will we see differently out of this team that we saw in those 2 games?
Well, our intensity at the beginning of the game will definitely be better than the past 2 games. I mean, that's what has killed us the past 2 games. We come in, we got that big win against Mountain State, and we thought it was going to come easy to us. And
Sure.
Coach he's been harping to us that every conference game, it doesn't matter who it is, you can always lose because our conference is so tough, and we just got to come out and play 40 minutes just intense, as hard as we can play. That's how we're going to do Thursday.
We've seen a spark when you've come off the bench this year. Seemingly the Bears' intensity level raises, and it's definitely been a positive for this Bears team this year. You played for your dad. You played for Coach Kelly Wells. What are the differences between their 2 styles?
Well, Coach Wells demands a lot, but my dad, like, I don't know, it just seems like sometimes
He's going to see this.
Yeah,
you know that.
Yeah,
don't you?
when I played bad, it was like I was afraid to go home because I was afraid I disappointed him. But like with Coach Wells, I just know like if I do bad, he's always going to give me that chance. He's always going to believe in me.
Sure.
And I mean, they're both different, but they're both kind of the same because I looked to him as a father figure as well.
No doubt about it. Family and the Bears, UPike basketball. Josh Whitaker, best of luck the rest of the way.
Appreciate it.
Looking for a win Thursday against Cumberland's? We'll be right there on Z-Rock. 7:45 coverage begins Thursday from Williamsburg. You're tuned to the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless from Jerry's. Join us every Tuesday evening, and stay tuned. Coach Kelly Wells rejoins us on the Kelly Wells Show right after this. Welcome back in the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless from Jerry's Restaurant, where we talk all things UPike basketball. And of course, UPike 6-2 on the season, coming off a loss to Shawnee State University. Next up, the University of the Cumberlands in Williamsburg, and that's coming up Thursday night, an 8 p.m. tip-off. We'll have coverage at 7:45 on Z-Rock. Coach Kelly Wells rejoins us now. And, Coach, I like the players' spotlights. I think it gives the viewers, the listeners, an opportunity to get a more personal connection with the players. And both these young men today did a great job.
Yeah, we're very proud of our guys, and it's really good for them to have this opportunity, one, to get in front of the camera a little bit and shake those nerves off a little bit, but a great learning experience for them. But it's also a great opportunity for viewers to get to know them personally,
Sure.
And you get to watch them out in their jerseys and get to watch them play, and that's not always who they are. I mean, you get a chance to really get to know that. Probably nobody knew Chris McHenry was a soft-spoken young man, and just you hardly even know he's around when we're not.
So he's like a beast, and then he speaks so softly. And then Josh Whitaker, he's just a ball of energy, and you find out he's a math major.
Yeah, and he's definitely a ball of energy at all times, and that's what makes him who he is. And each of them are unique in their own way, but we love them all, and it's neat to see them kind of flourish into young men too. So that's a neat experience.
It's a great part of the Kelly Wells Show, where we talk all things U-Pike basketball, including the academic goals of the players involved in the program, because student comes first, and I know that does with the Bears program as well.
It really does, and it's extremely tough. We've been dealt schedule-wise a tough schedule in regards to missing class, and we've had to be pulled out of some of our classes when we haven't wanted to. And the great thing is our guys are very, very diligent in trying to get things made up. And there's obviously hurdles. Some teachers are more receptive to those kind of things than others, and eventually we'll all get them receptive to the right things. And that's when it'll really be flourished, when we get everybody all in, from the teachers to the administrators to the players and coaches. And we'll continue to work on that. But schedule has really hurt us in a lot of ways of missing more classes than we want to do. And we don't obviously control our conference schedule. It is what it is. But our guys will be diligent and get done what they need to get done.
Cumberland's coming up on Thursday. It will be the first time on the floor without a couple of guys that were formerly part of the team. You lost 13 points and a couple of assists per game out of one of those spots. How do you replace that?
We replace it with quality players. That's the great thing about having a deep team, and it doesn't put me in a position where I can't enforce the things that need to be enforced. And this gives guys like Josh Whitaker more opportunities to get on the floor, and guys like Kenny Rhymes more opportunities to get on the floor, and our bench players opportunities to work into those spots. And there's not a guy that we recruited that didn't come out here ready to play, and that's the neat part of this. And we'll still be a very deep team. We'll still play probably down to 9, 10 players, and with very little drop off in chemistry. And that's the biggest thing for us. Is we hope this subtraction will lead to some addition in our play.
It's a very rare occasion that you're caught off guard, and I was curious to see your reaction to that question, but you didn't flinch. You truly have a lot of confidence in your roster that 13 points and 2 assists, that won't be a problem to make up.
Well, it's not. I'm not in a profession of panic. That's just not shouldn't be part of our era and anything we're about. And I recruit our guys because I believe in them. I don't recruit them just because they're good at this or good at that. And it can't be phony, because they realize that if it becomes a phony thing. And our guys will fill in and replace those guys, and we'll be better off than we were before. And it's just something we got to go through, and it will be some process to it. It's a learning experience for them as well. But we've tinkered with 5 different lineups since then, and all of those lineups have looked really good. So it's been a dilemma in regards to what we're going to do there.
Being all in, we believe that you'll make the right decision and you'll work through it as well. Let's back up and talk about Chris McHenry and Josh Whitaker and what it means to you to have those two guys on the floor. Josh Whitaker, one of the nation's leaders in assist to turnover ratio, and then Chris McHenry also getting it done, plus he's a scoring threat as well. What does it mean to have those two guys running your team as a coach on the floor?
Well, it's very important. The point guard position is got to be an extension of me in a lot of ways on our court, and with the move now, you'll get to see both those guys on the floor a considerable amount of time together. Josh at the 1 and Chris at the 2, and rotation-wise will be whoever gets the outlet pass, and both of those guys are great leaders, and you can tell they're different types of leaders. Josh is full energy, full of head, and very talkative, and Chris is more of a leader by his example, not very vocal, and that's okay. Everybody's different. That's fine. And they understand what we want. Some of the pressure has been pulled off of them now, to where they can run our team and not have so many irons in the fire and having to please too many people. So now they got to worry about one pleasing, and that's what I want from them, and they understand that. So it's great to have two guys like that could be in the lineup together a lot, but also could be out there by themselves.
In your 6th season at the University of Pikeville now, And we've been able to see many, many games, 170 or whatever. And we've seen guys that will commit a turnover, take a horrible shot, and immediately you look to your right down the bench, and that player comes out. I thought it was a solid comment coming from Josh Whitaker that he's not afraid to make a mistake in your program. He knows that you'll always give him that next chance.
Well, we're all human. We're going to make mistakes. Not that we embrace mistakes.
Sure.
I mean, we don't want them to make mistakes, but we understand that's part of the game, and each one of those mistakes is a teaching point. And we address those. We don't skip out on missing those opportunities to learn. And we learn and we ship them right back in the game to get back at it next time, and hopefully don't repeat that same mistake. And that's part of your growth as a team. That's part of your learning. And every one of our guys on our bench know that they're going to have an opportunity, and it's a matter of what they do. They determine who plays. I don't. And if they don't make mistakes and they go out there and do their job, they're going to play. If they don't, then they're not going to play. That's just the way it works.
The Coach Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless from Jerry's Restaurant. And Thursday night, the Bears take on the University of Cumberland. So, of course, Donnie Butcher's squad in Williamsburg. Tough place to play on the road in the Mid-South Conference. Let's have a quick scouting report on Cumberland's.
Well, possibly one of his better teams that he's had chemistry-wise. They know exactly who they are. Donnie does a great job of coaching them. They're 7-0 currently right now. They're playing great basketball. They've got a leader in Matt Daniel, who's a senior, has been a 4-year starter for him. Really a great scorer and a great teammate. We're very close to him and his family, so we know him very well, and he leads that team. They've also got some very, very good players in Zavon Neely at the point guard spot, who's averaging 14 points a game. Their wings, Clayman on the wing is a very good. He's kind of like a Trevor Setti, a hybrid Trevor Setti, and I don't throw those comparisons out lightly. He likes to float on the perimeter and shoots a three.
Sure.
And the interior, they're very athletic. They don't have a back-to-the-basket type score, but they've got very good athletes, and they'll guard your tail. They do not give you anything easy. They sit down in half-court man-to-man, and they're very tough on the boards, and they're very tough taking some of your shots away. So it's going to be a good challenge for us on the road. We haven't had a great ton of success at Cumberland's. There's no one really has a great ton of success on the road in our league anyway, but it's one we got to have.
And then, of course, we don't like to look too far ahead, but Lindsay on Saturday, quick turnaround, both challenges for this team.
They really are, and actually, unfortunately, I had the opportunity to watch Lindsay and Cumberland's the night that I didn't get a coach, and it was a great ball game. Two physical teams, two veterans in our league coaching. They're not going to play who's got a secret. They're going to show you what they're going to do, and they're going to go out and try to execute it. And Lindsay's very good guarding the perimeter. They're averaging only 28% defensive field goal percentage from the three, and that's something we really like to do is use the three. So we've got to really not settle for jump shots against them. And very, very similar type team as you've got in Cumberland, so preparation is not going to be a whole lot different. He's going to run the same things he's always ran. He's going to be the same coach he's always been, and that's what makes them good. They're very consistent in what they like to do, and on the road in the league is very tough. But we're looking forward to the opportunity, and the greater the challenge, the greater the reward.
Cumberland's followed by Lindsey Wilson. That's you don't travel back. You stay down in South Central Kentucky for that trip.
We do. We've got some itinerary issues. We may have to bring some guys back, which is an absolute horrible way to try to win 2 games on the road. But we've got a bunch of guys with tests on Friday, and we may have to drive them all the way back to take a couple exams, and then travel them right back 4 more hours back. So it'll be an 8-hour travel day for those guys have to make those tests up. But if we got to do what we got to do to make them be successful.
Cumberland's Thursday night, 8 o'clock tip-off. We'll be there, and we'll look for another Bears win.
We can't wait. We're looking forward to it, and we'd love to have as many fans that can make that trip as go. But if not, listen and support the team from afar, and hopefully we'll bring back 2 wins.
You've been tuned to the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless, where we talk all things UPike basketball. Our next broadcast, Thursday evening, 7:45. Coverage begins from Williamsburg as the Bears take on the University of Cumberland. For Kelly Wells, Chris McHenry, and Josh Whitaker, I'm Andrew Joyce. Good evening.